Welcome back, everybody. We're going through adding and subtracting polynomials, and the good news is this is 95% review. This is just like combining, and I'm sure you already know the last word, terms, right? We are basically going to be doing combining like terms part 2, right? I mean, we're talking about the exact same thing. When you do combining like terms, you're going to add the numbers together. And when you add the numbers together, those numbers are going to change. But when you add the letters together, those letters are not going to change. So I'm going to write here letters same, because I want to make sure that we don't change those letters. So hopefully you got a pencil. You got phones and headphones put away. Cam, I got to call you out, man. Please take the earbud out. Everybody else seems to get that med bump by now. We're going to be looking for matching pairs. I got highlighters here. We got the x squared and the x squared. Those two are pairs. Hopefully you're following along. Really easy. We're just going to do plus. So what's 3 plus 5? 8. You're going to write 8. Here's probably, the biggest moment of the whole notes. What do we do when we do x squared plus x squared? So when we add those x squareds together, keep the letters the same. Do not change them at all. X squared. 3 plus 5 is 8. X squared, do not change them. X squared. Moving it on. Again, this is pretty easy. 2x minus 4x. If you're ever not sure, just go to Desmos, click, Desmos. Let me stop your pass, Malachi. On Desmos, just type positive 2, negative 4. Desmos does all of it for you. Negative 2. So we should have negative 2. How many x's go on top of that negative 2? Just 1. And then the last thing is negative 7 and positive 4. And if you're not sure, just go to Desmos. No extra letters, just type in exactly what it says. Negative 7, positive 4, boom. Negative 3. And how many x's go on that negative 3? None. Now, this is probably one of the last times I'm going to pause for just a second and talk to you guys. This is very algebra, and I really want you to kind of focus, recognize that we have 2 x's followed by 1 x followed by no x's, that we are counting down. It's kind of like grammar. It's kind of like how you build a sentence is how you build a polynomial. Polynomial just means many number, right? You don't have to write that down, but in English class you learn about poly meaning many, like a polygon, or nomials just meaning number. So that's why we got polynomials. It's 3 numbers in a row, and we put them with the x squareds first, then the x's, then the no x's. So when we move to the next question, I always want to look for my x squareds first. For this question, it's a little bit out of order. Gesundheit. We can go with our x squareds, even though the order's not the same. Find your matches, and let's start with the big exponents first, which is why I'm starting with the x squared. So we're going to fly through these next 2 questions really quickly. What's negative 8 plus 2? Negative 6, keep the x squared. Now we're going to go down to the 1x, 6 and 6. What's 6 plus 6? 12, I'm sure we know that. 12x. And then let's finish with negative 4 and positive 1. If you're ever not sure if these negatives are being weird, just go to Desmos. Negative 4, positive 1 is negative 3. All right, keeping it going. We get to the next one. Let's start with our big exponents. X squared 9x squared and negative 6x squared. What's 9 minus 6? 3x squared. Let's go down to the x's. Now for this question, I see there's only one. There's a 3x, and that's it. It has no friends. It has no, buddies that have single x's. So what do we do with the 3x? You just bring it down, right? Even though it's got no friends, you just bring it down. He can hang out. We'll be nice to him. And then you have the negative 7. Same thing. No friends. There's no other numbers that have no x's, but that's okay. We can just bring them down. Write them right there. All right, this is like 100% review. We did 3 questions. It took us 3 minutes. This is not very hard. Now the next 3, this is the last thing we're going to go through together. Hopefully you got a pencil and you're writing this down. TJ, Elijah, if you guys doing all right, man, let's keep it up. We have this minus sign. Now, with this minus sign, that's not going to make things that much harder, okay? If we imagine, if I kind of put my pencil like this, and I kind of cover up this, what we have now is negative parentheses, and we've done questions this year with negative parentheses. It's kind of like you distribute the negative, if you guys remember doing that. Okay? And if you have a negative, what number is really in front of this parentheses? A negative 1. So here's what's going on. We need to multiply or distribute by negative 1. So, multiplying by negative 1. Really simply, what we're going to do is just rewrite everything inside the parentheses right underneath it with opposite signs. So, been doing a lot of talking, not a whole lot of doing. Really easy. Multiply by negative 1 just means change the signs. Negative 14, change it. Positive 14, x squared. Negative x, change it. Positive x. And the last one, negative 2, change it. Positive 2. Once we do that, we don't need the original anymore. I can just kind of scribble it out. All we did was change the signs, and now this is a very easy question, exactly like the first 3. All we got to do is add this stuff up, and this can be very quick, right? 3x squared, 14x squared, that makes 17x squared. Next up is the x's. 2x's plus x. You guys tell me what's 2x plus x? 3x, because we got 2 and 1, and 2 plus 1 makes 3. And then we're going to finish with negative 7, positive 2. Nice job. I heard somebody say negative 5.
What is with the party that was ever going on in the room behind or room upstairs?
Hey, this is somebody's happy on a Friday. They might have had a boring start. You know, we're knocking out these notes.
We're distributing them because they're all negative, certainly?
Basically, because we see this negative right here, we're just going to, instead of subtracting each one, students always forget that, we're just going to think about it like change all the signs. So when we do this one, watch, I'll show you. I'll go on my watch here. Oh, start, that, there we go. I'm going to hit start. We're going to change all the signs. Ready? Boom. Negative 11, change it, negative 11x. Change this one. It's starting at a positive 12. It's a negative 12. And the 14 is starting at a negative 14. Change it. It's a positive 14. So, it was a little bit slow, but 16 seconds.
Basically, if there's a negative, then you gotta change it.
Yeah, real easy. If there's a negative, change all the signs. So we change all the signs, and now we just look for our pairs. Nice job, man. I appreciate that. I put that notes on the desk right next to you so that you can have it there. Look for our pairs. We got negative 8, negative 11. That makes negative 19x squared. Keep it going. We got negative 6, negative 12. Again, if you ever get stuck, if these negatives ever make you nervous, use a calculator. Negative 6, negative 12, negative 18, negative 18x, and then finish with negative 4, positive 14. That's going to be 10. So real quick, if you got the minus, just change the signs. I'm going to go for number 6. Now I do want to point out, the way I do it, I just rewrite these questions really quick. There is always a student in class who's like, Mr. Collier, I don't like to rewrite the questions. I like to go right in here and I like to scribble these little tiny pluses and put a little minus sign in front of that 5. And to me, it's just not worth it. Okay, rewriting it literally takes 10 seconds. I mean, I timed it, what was it? 16 seconds, and we were going slow, right? If I see this minus and I want to rewrite this question, let's see, start, it's a negative 10, turn it to a positive 10. It's a positive 5, turn it to a negative 5. And time. I mean, 8 seconds to rewrite this. You don't have to be a kid who's like, oh, if I just do a little scribble, make it super obvious and just write it big and don't make any mistakes. All right, there's only 3 questions left. We're almost done with the notes. 9 minus 5 is 4x squared. The 10x has no friends, so it's just going to be the 10x. And the minus 8, I think, is going to be pretty much the same way. The minus 8 has no friends, so it's going to be a minus 8. All right, let's finish this up. We got 2 questions left. Both of these are bringing something that would scare a student, but
Makes me want to have a heart attack.
Oh, come on. The good news is it might scare you if you've never been taught, but I think in the next 2 minutes, I'm going to show you how to do this, and it won't be that hard at all. Okay, so first of all, check this out. This is where I went to high school. This is a map. This is Hickory High School. It's like 5 miles away from here. This is the high school where my mouse is. This is the middle school. And when I was in high school, we used to have to do this thing called perimeters. Okay? And a perimeter was where we had to run a perimeter of the school. Now, I will never forget what perimeter means, because a perimeter run was when we had to run all the way, right? We would start at the field and we would run all the way around the high school, all the way to the road. Then we would have to run all the way behind the middle school, and then we'd have to run all the way back. And we would do a big lap around the school, and it was almost 2 miles long.
Where's Hickory High School at?
It's about 10 miles away from here. It's in Great Bridge. It's kind of near Great Bridge High School. It's kind of near Moyock. So I'll never forget what perimeter means, because I used to have to run around my high school. Really simple. Perimeter just means add the sides. Okay? Perimeter is how long does it take to get around, and adding the sides, sometimes people think, oh my God, shapes make things super complicated. All you gotta do is add the sides. It's the same exact thing we were just doing. So we have negative 5x squared, positive 2x squared. If we're gonna add these things up, I'm just gonna look for the ones that match and add them up. Anybody know what negative 5 plus 2 is? Nice job. Negative 3. I'm going to put my x squareds on there. Perfect. And I'm just going to keep looking for matches. I see negative 3x, positive 7x. I heard somebody say plus 4. That's a plus 4x. And then we got the numbers without x's. That is a 2 and a negative 8. And what is 2 minus 8? Negative 6. This perimeter question is literally not even 5% harder, right? This is an exactly same question. There is a vocab word. Perimeter just means add the side, right?
What I want to know is who put numbers, who invented numbers, wait, no, who put Who puts shapes and letters into
Yeah,
math?
certainly
I wanna know, because whoever
confusing.
did that is a menace.
Well, I don't think people did it. I think people just kind of realized that you could use letters to help you solve problems.
Still, whoever invented it was a menace.
So here's what we got. In this last question, it's the very last one. We're going to be done for the whole week. We got 3 pieces. We got the first piece, then we have a minus this middle piece, then we have a plus this last piece. Now, this isn't that complicated. We're just going to add up all 3 pieces, but this middle one has this minus. So for this middle one, we're going to want to change all of these numbers, kind of like distributing, like Brandon said. So really quick, takes 8 seconds. We timed it before. 4x, change it. Negative 4x squared. Negative 2, change it. Positive 2x. And positive 5, change it. Negative 5. That fast? And we're ready to just add them all up. Now this one does have 3 things. So when I see my negative 3x squared, negative 4x squared, positive 5x squared, all 3 of those are matches. I'm just going to use Desmos. I'm just going to add all these up at the same time. Negative 3, negative 4, positive 5, negative 2. So we should have negative 2x squared, and then I'm going to move on. The x, the x, the x. That's a negative 14, positive 2, negative 7. Negative 14, positive 2, negative 7. Negative 19, okay? Negative 19x. And the last thing is 3 minus 5 minus 2. Desmos, 3 minus 5 minus 2. Negative 4. Negative 4. That's the whole thing. That's the last notes for the week. That is the first day after the test. Polynomials, which just means many numbers. This will get a little bit harder, but for now, combining like terms. Find your matches, add them up. Perimeter, you can just imagine Mr. Collier, little 15-year-old Mr. Collier, just on his run, running all the way around. Just add up the sides. All right, that's the whole thing.